Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. I apologize if my voice sounds weird, if it cracks at all. I am still sick and especially dealing with some throat soreness. I'm doing my best. I've got to get y'all this content, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to show your support, and so you don't miss out on a single one of these uploads. Let's go ahead and get right into it because we have a very stacked slate of games. Starting off, we had Heat versus Wizards, with Miami coming out on top just barely in a really huge back and forth game, and it was a completely stacked slate. Like I said, there were so many great matchups, multiple games went to overtime, and this was one of the best. There were some great performances on both sides. Kyle Kuzma, especially for the Wizards, had a great performance. Bradley Beal showed out, but ultimately, with the Heat winning, they were led by Bam Adebayo, who has had a really solid season. I feel like he's somewhat flown under the radar and honestly has become a bit underrated at this point. The Heat have been decimated by injuries this year. Jimmy Butler has missed 6 games, Tyler Hero's missed 8. You haven't seen Victor Oladipo yet this year. Omer Yurtseven, who was supposed to be helpful alongside Bam as his consistent backup, he hasn't played so far this season. So they have had to rely a lot on Bam, especially recently, to go ahead and lead them to victories. And tonight, that is exactly what he did. He dropped 38 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists on 15 of 22 shooting. He scored 4 clutch points in the last 90 seconds to help them win the game. He dunked on someone. He was knocking down jumpers consistently. He looked great. This was one of the best offensive games we've ever seen from Bam Adebayo, and it's something that I'm really frustrated that we don't get to see more often, which is really why I'm making this video. Because in my opinion, there are 2 things that are true. One, Bam Adebayo has become really underrated. Kendrick Perkins had a tweet the other day that was basically calling him out, despite the fact that, like I said, he's been really solid on the season, and he's just continuing to get better, and he's been missing a lot of his teammates that are supposed to make life easier for him. So he's still doing great things, but he also could be doing more. Prior to the season, Bam Adebayo said in a press conference that he wanted to shoot 18 or more times a game. So far this season, he's only done that 4 times out of 18 matchups, which isn't what you want to see if that's a goal from him. But let's take a look at those numbers in those 4 games. Got him pulled up down here. In the first game, he had 24, 15, and 4 in a 17-point blowout win over Charlotte. Then he had 30, 10, and 1 in a 1-point win versus Phoenix. And then he had a 17, 14, and 5 game in a 4-point loss to Minnesota. And then there was tonight. So in those 4 games, they are 3-1, and Bam himself is averaging 27.5 points per game on really solid shooting when he shoots 18 or more times. When he gets opportunities and more importantly seeks those opportunities out, Bam is able to put up really high level, consistently efficient numbers. The problem is there are a lot of times where he doesn't look for his own looks. He doesn't look aggressive, and that's long been one of the biggest criticisms of Bam Adebayo's game. You will sometimes see some matchups like tonight where he'll put up 38 points, he'll be dominant, he'll look aggressive, and you're like, this guy's incredible. This guy is an amazing talent. Then there are some games where he just doesn't look like he's interested in playing the offensive end. He's kind of just spotting up here and there. He's, attacking the basket. He's still grabbing boards and playing phenomenal defense because that's what Bam does. He's one of the best defenders in the league, but offensively, he just kind of shies away from that side. Sometimes he'll even go through these 2 mindsets in the exact same game, like tonight, for example, where in the first quarter, he had 18 points and looked dominant. He was demanding the ball. He was making Washington pay basically every time he shot it. But then in the second quarter, in about 7.5 minutes of play, he shot twice. One of them led to free throws, and the other one was a bucket. So he ended up with some points, but what happened? He just stopped being aggressive. I have a friend who's a Heat fan, Matt. Shout out to Matt if you're watching this video. He's mad that I'm making this one because I typically curse players when I say that they're good, and he's worried that Bam Adebayo is going to stop playing well, so hopefully that's not the case. But he talks to me all the time about how Bam Adebayo, he's probably his favorite player, but there are just some times where he just loses his aggression. It doesn't seem like he's interested in playing. That's why Bam Adebayo is so frustrating, because in my opinion, he could very easily make a case for the 3rd best center in the league if he just stayed consistently aggressive. He could be putting up over 20 points per game, 10 rebounds a game on great efficiency, and look like the defensive player of the year a lot of nights, and that's hard to keep a guy off an all-NBA team. I think that's the level Bam Adebayo can reach. It just feels like he's somewhat holding himself back from doing so. I know he's a great player. He's one of my favorite players to watch in the league. It's just super frustrating when there are these moments where he doesn't look as aggressive. Tonight is a great example of how great Bam Adebayo can be, and I hope he continues to play like this. I hope he stays aggressive. He's continued to be so as of recently. He's taking 18 plus shots in a few of his recent games. Hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully he continues to be one of their focal points. Even when Jimmy Butler comes back, Bam Adebayo needs more touches. He needs to be more consistently involved, and a lot of that responsibility falls falls on himself. He has to go get those touches, be aggressive, and know that you are Bam Adebayo, one of the best players in the league. In some other news, the Blazers beat the Knicks in overtime, led by Jeremy Grant, who has been a monster so far this season. He had 44 points. Anthony Simons had 38, 4, and 5, including huge free throws to make sure this game did go to OT. Nurkic had 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. Josh Hart had 10 points, 19 rebounds, and 4 assists. An incredible role player stat line. One of the most role player Josh Hart-esque stat lines I've ever seen. They dropped 132 points and won with just 8 guys suiting up for them. It was an incredible effort from a team that is also shorthanded, like the Heat that we talked about earlier. And Portland, while they've been skidding as of late, maybe could flip their momentum around with this W. The Knicks, on the other side, once again, give up a lot of points for a team that's supposed to be led by a great defensive coach in Tom Thibodeau. Jalen Brunson continues to be great. He just barely missed a floater to win this game in regulation, sending it to overtime where they eventually lost. But regardless, he has looked like a borderline all-star caliber guy. He had 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. RJ Barrett had 19 and 10, but he shot 6 of 22. It just continues where he can't seem to score efficiently. He's missing layups, easy buckets. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe, what I said in my video is true and he never really will become this all-star caliber player that many people thought he could be. It's just been rough for him. Then we had Atlanta versus Houston. And before I tell you the result of this game, let's go over some quick stats. In particular, Trae Young and DeJounte Murray both went off. Trae Young had 44 points and 5 dimes, while DeJounte had a career high 39 points to go with 3 rebounds and 3 assists. If I told you all of that, what would you assume the Hawks did to the Houston Rockets, who have been the worst team in the league so far? You'd probably assume they blew them out by like 40, 50 points. Actually, the Rockets won this one somehow. And the big reason why is because outside of those 2 guys in the Hawks backcourt, nobody else did basically anything. AJ Griffin had double-digit points. John Collins basically shouldn't even been out there. He was just kind of running around, not playing great defense, not doing anything offensively. I think he shot 2 for 7. He really feels like he's going to be out of this team because it just feels like his tenure should come to an end. I know he's been in trade talks. He looks kind of out of sync with everything. He's been shooting terrible from 3. The field, it's just not there anymore. So I think he's on his way out. And then DeAndre Hunter also had an abysmal shooting night. They need more consistent play from their role-playing guys because you can't have Trae Young and DeJounte Murray put up these incredible, almost career-level performances, and then you lose to the worst team in the league. You also have to give credit to the Rockets, though, because they were able to hold off that crazy barrage from the 2 Hawks backcourt guys, and they were led by Jalen Green, who had 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and has been playing some great basketball. You had 21 and 9 from Jabari Smith, who also had some solid defense, and then 21 and 15 from Kenyon Martin Jr., who before the season requested a trade and is now playing some great minutes. It seems like he's happy, back to being where he wants to be on the Houston Rockets, and he's a great role player for them to have. Then we had the Pacers beating the Nets in a blowout win, and Miles Turner was absolutely incredible. He's a free agent this upcoming offseason, and he is going to get a massive bag. He might get like 25, maybe even $30 million a year with the way he's playing. He's probably even making somewhat of an all-star case with the Pacers being a really, really solid team so far. In this game, he had 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists and 2 blocks, and he was a plus 26 in this game. And I know single game plus minus doesn't mean much, but in this game, every second Miles Turner was on the court, the Pacers absolutely dominated the Nets. They couldn't do anything to stop him. His trade value is at an all-time high easily. You also had Tyrese Halliburton, who dropped 21 points, 6 rebounds, 15 assists, and 4 steals with 0 turnovers, a monster stat line from one of the best playmakers in the game, period. You had 26 points from Buddy Hield, 20 from Benedict Mathurin. The Pacers have looked really, really good so far, shocking the world. On the Nets side of things, Ben Simmons had 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists on perfect 8 of 8 shooting. He continues to look more and more like himself, although it didn't result in a win in this one. And Kevin Durant had 36 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. Kyrie had 20 points. Those 3 guys played pretty solid, but outside of them, not much going. And also, they couldn't get a stop to save their lives. Finally, we're going to talk about the OKC Thunder, who got a win over the Chicago Bulls in overtime, being led by usual Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in what feels like our 30th overtime of the season. He struggled shooting from the field. It wasn't his most efficient game, but he continues to get to the free throw line, which is a reliable way to get points in all great scores. One of the most important things is when your shot's not falling, you've got to find ways to get to the line, get back in rhythm, and just get those easy buckets. That's what he's done. He's learned how to draw contact, drive right into the body of guys, force them to foul him to stop him from scoring. It's been really impressive to watch him continue to grow as a scorer over the course of his young career. You also had 17 from Darius Bazley, including some great defense. He's been a player that I haven't talked about so much this season. He's in a contract year, and he's been better than he's been in the past few years. He's playing more controlled. He continues to look like a potentially really solid defender. You had 15 and 6 from Poku, 10, 13 and 9 from Josh Giddey, who was really solid towards the end of the game as well. Zach LaVine for the Bulls had 27, 5 and 5, probably his best game of the season. DeMar DeRozan had 30, but it just wasn't enough in the end. They really miss Lonzo Ball. Whenever I watch the Bulls play, it's clear that they need a playmaker, someone to create looks, because there were so many times where Zach LaVine's shot selection is wild, because he was taking some of the craziest off-balance looks that I've ever seen. And some of them went in. Zach LaVine does that, but it just felt like there were better shots out there. He was just trying basically anything out there. But once again, one of his better games of the season. But having a player like Lonzo Ball would be huge for them, because he just makes open looks possible. He's just able to playmate guys, get guys open, put pressure on the basket to have driving kicks. They just clearly miss a playmaker like him. I want to give a shout to the Lakers, who continue to find wins behind Anthony Davis, who had 25, 15, 4, and 3 blocks in this game. It looks like he really might be back. LeBron James had his first game back from injury. He had 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, but also 9 turnovers. It was just clear that he was kind of out of sync with what was going on. Not a big Russ game either. He really shot poorly as well, but Lonnie Walker adds in some solid points, and overall, they get the win against a Spurs team that is an absolute free fall. This was how I thought they were going to be towards the start of the season. They went off to begin things. They were at like 4-1, 5-1, something like that. They've completely fallen back down to earth. They can't seem to get wins. They're getting blown out. They're a very young team. They're a rebuilding team. It was clear that what they were doing wasn't going to last, but it's been really rough over the past few weeks. That's all I have to say about the games tonight. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss on any of these videos. And go ahead and comment down below, what is one player that you believe has been underrated this season? Like I said, Bam, I think has flown under the radar, because I kind of want to make a video talking about some under the radar guys so far to bring attention to them. That's one of the things I like to do on this channel, is shout players that I feel like aren't getting enough love and deserve more attention. So make sure to leave some of those names in the comments below. And also, as always, your big takeaways from your favorite team's games today, unless you're a Raptors or a Mavericks fan, because then you were one of the 2 teams that did not play. But don't worry, you guys have tomorrow. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.